This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, super practical.
I'm not telling people to have a mistress. I'm teaching you, learn the lesson from the people who have a mistress, because there's many business lessons that apply.
Pious.
There's a part in the book of Revelation where Jesus says, I want you either hot or cold. I'm spewing lukewarm churches out. And I think it's a good way to look at your list.
Romantic to his very core.
Once in a while, I'll give my girl a present, like a Snickers bar or something.
And totes tender.
If someone asks you to walk on eggshells, smash the eggshells and let the chips fall wherever they may.
Adored by feminists everywhere.
It takes a strong woman to admit when she's wrong.
Not a judgmental bone in his entire body.
I look at all the free information people give just on Facebook and I go, what a bunch of time hoes.
Has a PhD in armchair philosophy.
In the land of dumbasses, the smartass is king.
You'll never meet a more sensitive guy.
If you really care about people, you shame the hell out of them. This is the bensettle.com show. Your host, Ben Anti-Coach Settle. And your
right there.
Producer Coach Jonathan.
Right there.
I told you I was going to do this to you. It's not like you weren't prepared for that. Because I literally said I'm going to bring this up. And for anyone listening to this who has no idea, which is pretty much everyone listening to this who has no clue what we're talking about, I may have said something about the coaching industry that I didn't really say anything bad about coaches. By the way, John, I didn't say anything bad about coaches. All I said was I've never personally hired a coach for business, one-on-one or a mentor or anything like that. And most of the people I know who do hire coaches tend to not get any farther than they were before they hired the coach. And then the ones who do have made some progress tend to become coaches themselves. I don't think that's really an inaccurate statement, personally. But you said it.
No.
And nothing against them. Honestly, I mean, there are people who benefit greatly from them, but that is, maybe I'll do a show about this one day. I don't know. But I do know there's a lot of coaches out there that just coach people to motivate them to make money so they can keep paying their coaching fees. Which it seems
that's my favorite.
It seems to me like, I mean, I understand that from a coach's point of view. I really do. I mean, why not? Okay, but from the person's point of view, shouldn't the goal be not to need a coach? That would just be my thought. But who cares? My opinion on coaches is neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. It's not something I sell. Although I will say this, Jonathan, I wish I liked coaching people because it would be so easy to make a whole other wing of my business off that. But I don't like coaching people, so it's a moot point. Anyway, let's move on to the important stuff. Unless you want to keep arguing about coaching, of course, which I'm happy to do.
No, brother. I am grateful to be in your presence.
As you should. I mean, let's face it. And by the way, you talking to me from the opposite coast is about as close to my presence as I let people get. So you should feel very special about that. Now, here is the topic for this week. Okay, so there's this movie that came out in like 2005. It was called Cinderella Man. You probably remember that, Jonathan, I'm guessing.
No.
With Russell Crowe. You've never seen Cinderella Man, have you? I mean, it almost sounds like kind of a dorky movie, doesn't it? It starred Russell Crowe, and I'm sure it was produced by Harvey Weinstein. But let's not let that stain the movie. It's basically about this guy who was a real-life boxer. He was back in like the Depression era. His last name was Braddock, and it was like he was an kind of over-the-hill guy, and he kept winning. He won boxing championships anyway, despite going through some very, very rough challenges and hardships. And that's basically what the movie's about. Now, I bring this up because there's a theme that goes on throughout this movie. And it's my goal to get Jonathan to watch this movie now by the end of this show.
All right.
And I don't know, I don't know if you're a movie watcher or not, but you will be after this. And I hope. If I can do a better job selling this than I did Black Panther, I think I have a shot at this. So there's a theme that goes through. Actually, there's a lot of interesting success themes, as there is in most really good sports related movies. You can usually pick out a lot of good success themes and inspirations and that sort of thing. Well, one of the things that goes on through this movie over and over and over, at least 3 or 4 times by my count, if not more, is this idea of the importance of keeping up appearances. So to give you an example here. The guy who's like Braddock's, fight guy, his I don't call him a coach necessarily because
Yeah,
he's not
here
even
we go.
it's not really his coach. It's not even really his trainer. It's more like his promoter. But he kind of sits in as like his cut man, right? So he's not a coach. So Braddock did not need a coach. I want this to be very, very clear that the great men in history did not need a coach. But his cut man, whatever you want to call him, he was basically his promoter. It's the Depression. Everybody's broke, right? And this guy's still walking around in his suit, hair slicked back. It's played by Paul Giamatti, if you know who he is. He was in the movie Sideways, played Miles, the main character, whatever. Very good actor. And he's just walking around and he's still living in the nice place, like on Park Avenue, where the hell he lives. And, he's like, yeah, I got to keep up appearances. Now, in reality, he has no furniture because he had to sell it all. And he's got no money, but he keeps up appearances. And that's what helps him have an influence with the boxing commission that kind of helps Braddock out later in the movie. But it's a very important thing, this idea of keeping up appearances. Now, that is only one instance in the movie. Another instance is, and this guy was a master of keeping up appearances, because as Braddock's cut man, there's this fight that they're in, and he's fighting like the second ranked guy in the world, boxer, like one of the best. And during the fight, I mean, Braddock gets hit. I mean, this guy just hits Braddock as hard as he can, like in his rib. I think he like breaks a rib or something. I don't know. And instead of like hunching over in pain, even though he is in a ton of pain, he just kind of smiles at the guy, keeping up appearances. And it intimidates the hell out of this other boxer. He's like, he just took his best punch, Jonathan, that this number 2 heavyweight champion or whatever weight class they're in can possibly give. And, and a boxer of that caliber could probably hit pretty hard, I'm guessing. And he took it and he just he never showed any pain, even though he was like in excruciating pain. He just smiled at him just for the intimidation, for keeping up appearances. And I believe in that same fight, Braddock is just breathing heavy. He's really tired. He just got hit really hard like that. I mean, the guy probably just wants to curl up into a corner and like die or something. But he goes to his corner, and his cut man, who's not his coach, I might reiterate again, Braddock tries to sit. He goes, no, don't sit down. Just keep standing. Yeah, let's let this guy think that nothing's getting to you. So he's still standing while the other guy, the second number 2 ranked guy, is sitting in the other corner, just amazed at this guy he just hit as hard as he could, and who's just as tired as him, is standing up and smiling at him, even though it's all about keeping up appearances. And it's one of these things. In fact, I remember during that scene where he got hit really hard, like his mouthpiece fell out of his mouth. That's how hard he got hit. And he's still just like keeping up appearances. He's not letting this other guy show him that he caused any pain, which psychologically just kind of screws up his enemies, as it would anybody. Imagine you, Jonathan. Let's say you with all of your Captain America like power came up to me after I said something disparaging about coaches and hit me as hard as you could. And like you broke my nose. And all I did was just kind of smile at you. You'd be like, I don't know how to handle El Bembo here. I don't know what to do. I mean, he's supposed to be on the floor crying.
He's not human.
But he just smiled and sniffed the air as if it didn't bother him. And so it is. By the way, I've noticed this, and this is related. Now, this isn't with people, but the last time I took my dog to the kennel. Now, my dog's getting up there in age, Jonathan. She's like 13 years old.
Wow.
I think she's like 95 in dog years or something like that, right? I still walk her on like 3 miles a day, or I try when she's not too tired. So she's doing pretty good. And then the people at the kennel can't believe how old she is, because she doesn't act old. Like she acts still young. She jumps on everyone, whatever. Very hyper, all that, especially around other dogs. So I take her over there to the kennel, and I come to pick her up. And the owner of the kennel likes to small talk me sometimes and telling me how my dog is doing. And oh, we just love Zoe. Zoe's just like, everyone loves Zoe. All the dogs follow Zoe around, whatever. Sometimes Zoe's out there playing really hard. Every time I bring Zoe back, she's really tired. And I mentioned something like how she's always tired. And yeah, well, she really plays hard with these other dogs. I said, really? Because she's got like arthritis and stuff, right? She goes, I would never be able to tell your dog has arthritis because she plays so hard with the other dogs. And I said, well, that's kind of, she needs to relax. She goes, no, well, this is what we know is, this is what dogs do to each other. And this is just like survival, right? For animals. They don't show weakness. So dogs have like egos where they will try to outplay and outdo all the other dogs so that they're not seen as victims. I think this is purely instinctive for them, right? Like in the law of the jungle, you don't want to be the weak one. So you have to keep up appearances just for survival. And that's what Zoe does. My my decrepit dog that's like too old for this shit dog, you know. She doesn't have, but she does it anyway, just to show the other dogs that she's not going to back down. And so they don't pick on her, probably so they don't follow her, because she doesn't really like hanging out with other dogs. Imagine that.
No
She's
kidding.
Kind of like her master. I don't know if that's a coincidence or if dogs just do that. But the point is, even dogs do this. They keep up appearances because they have to. And I think that that people who do big things in business and who are smart do the same thing. You always keep up appearances. I don't care how bad things get. The more you can keep up appearances and make it look like nothing's bothering you, the better. In fact, I think this is even one of the 48 laws of power, which is it's not keeping up appearances, but it's like you should always make things look easy. Don't sit there and go around telling people how hard this was. You know, a lot of people screw this up, John. I don't care. They'll do it on Facebook all the time, or Twitter, or probably even in their podcast, I'm guessing. Oh, how hard everything was. And they had this challenge and it was so hard. And it actually works against them. You want to make it look easy. This is one of the lessons I taught when I was selling 10-minute workday. Actually, it's like the beauty of the 10-minute workday is it is easy. So you're making the world looks easy. You make it look easy actually makes you more influential and persuasive in the things you do. So it all ties back to keeping up appearances. So now the question is, isn't like, okay, so Ben, that's nice that it helps Cinderella Man and his cut man and your dog, your old ass dog and all that. Okay, so how does this help me? Because, all these people listen to the show, Jonathan. Oh, give me some more how-to stuff.
Coach
Ben.
me.
Coach me, Ben. All these people clamoring for a coach. I am not a coach. Okay, so do not take this as coaching advice. It's
just take a knee and listen up.
Just take it for what it is. Okay. By the way, I have coached people, Jonathan, believe it or not. And it was an interesting experience. A few years ago, I did it just because I wanted to bring some extra cash flow in January. And I took on 2 coaching people, and I charged them $15,000 for the month. And one person proceeded to do absolutely nothing I taught them.
Wow,
nothing
really?
Nothing I said. And that's the most frustrating part is when they don't do. And I had to sit through like some calls, like some, strategy calls and all this stuff where they're just talking about doing the exact opposite of what I'm telling them to do.
Wow.
And all that. I mean, I'll take the money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's if you want to pay me $15,000 and not doing that's
and not
fine.
do anything, that'll be perfect.
Yeah, but it's
minus
like,
the calls.
let's not pretend anything else. But the other guy, on the other hand, he is an email player subscriber, and he sells in a very interesting niche in the entertainment industry. And he took one advice I gave, one piece of advice. It took me 30 seconds to tell him the advice. And I wrote about it in an email players issue a couple years ago. I'm not going to talk about it on this show. So anyone looking for coaching, I'm sorry. You could pony up 15 grand, I'll tell you, I guess, but that's it. It was the first call. It was like within the first 30 seconds, because I'd already read all about his market, and I'd read, like, he sent me all the information I needed. And I said, I want you to do this one thing with your emails. And he sells like these $20,000 boot camp type things, for his niche. So it's like seminar type stuff. And he says they never get any sales in December, and maybe one if they're lucky. And I coached him in December. So it was like the first few days of December. And he went and applied what I told him. It took me 30 seconds to tell him. It took him maybe 15 minutes to apply it. And then he did it throughout the month. And he said that he did over $100,000 in sales that December with this one little thing I taught him. So for him, this goes back to buying things versus paying for it. He bought the advice. He didn't pay for it. The other guy paid for it, didn't buy it. And I don't know how this is going to improve anyone's life, because I'm not going to say what I told him. But I'm just saying I'm not completely anti-coaching. I just don't like doing it for that reason. But anyway, so how do you apply this to business? There's 3 ways that you can. I mean, there's probably 300 ways to do this, but I'm just talking about 3 ways to keep up appearances in your business, Jonathan. And because I've noticed that you need to do more of this.
Yeah.
You need to keep up the appearances.
Thank you.
I need to coach you a little bit more on You're always going around complaining about all these. You were complaining about the last place you went skiing. You're like, they didn't.
Shitty.
The fireplace wasn't big enough in the cabin or whatever. And, I'm trying to help you keep up appearance. So the one thing you can do, and I'm very biased on this, Jonathan, what I'm about to say. Okay. I'm very biased, but it also happens. It's my opinion, but it also happens to be a fact. Like most of my opinions. and one way to do it is daily emails.
Oh,
if you're mailing,
really?
if you are mailing every day, let's say you're going through the worst shitstorm of your life. Now, there's people who say that you should write about that. And it's true in a way. If you can write about it in a way that doesn't look like you're whining and you're actually turning it into a lesson, great. You'll inspire the hell out of people too. It's great. That's one way to do it, to keep up appearances. Or just keep putting out offers every day. Keep writing emails every day. Even when you don't feel like, even when you're tired, all that, you just do it. It's like the movie Creed. When Rocky's giving Creed some advice, it's like one step, one punch, one round at a time. That's what daily emails is. One word, one email, one day at a time. Daily emails. And you will be keeping up appearances by default. People will say, man, this Jonathan's just relentless. Every day, I know he's got all this crap going on in his life, but he's still doing his business every day. And that's one way to keep up appearances. Another way to do it is to actually make offers, new offers. I've noticed that I don't like creating content all that much, Jonathan, but I noticed this year that the more I've been creating a lot of content this year. The more I do it, it's like the less I really care about other stuff. It kind of consumes so I don't have time to not keep up appearances because I've launched already 2 new things. I got 2 other things I'm going to be launching this year. So that's keeping up appearances.
You're calling content like your new products, like the client email system I got, that kind of stuff?
Yes. The email client machine.
That's the one, yeah.
That was a big one. Email players lifestyle, which I don't let people who are not email players buy because they'll never give it any context or anything. They won't know what they'll buy it because they think they're going to have like some magical genie come out of the thing and give them money, but they can't. Right now I'm creating a product for doing product launches and affiliate campaigns, which is going to be my most expensive product. I'm going to be writing the sequel to my villains book soon. I'm just pumping out new offers. So I don't really, I'm keeping up appearances, right? For all you people know, I could be suffering, right? I'm not, but you would never know anyway. I'm too busy pumping. I'm only suffering as much as I have to hear about coaching. That's my suffering. And then finally, just from a psychological point of view, and this goes back to like Cinderella Man, when just smiling when you get punched is like when the trolls and, the haters and the people like to get into pissing matches come swarming you. You just ignore them. You don't take their crap. You don't engage with them. You just think they're beneath your contempt, basically. And I have found that ignoring trolls and haters and all that, because you're too focused on other stuff, and quite frankly, they are below you. Like if you were a king of a country, do you really care if some like peasant? You're just going to have someone you're going to dispatch someone to take care of the peasant.
Shit-covered peasant, yeah.
The proles. But it's funny because but by not letting people get to you emotionally, you are keeping up appearances. The second you let people get to you emotionally, you have now lost all pretense of keeping up appearances. So hopefully those things help someone's life in some way. Maybe I've even inspired one of these coaches to clean up their act. I don't know. But that's all I got for this week. Next week, Jonathan, I'm going to talk about how to make all the money you want as a freelance copywriter. And this will also apply to coaches and because they need it the most, and consultants, but mostly freelance copywriters. And that'll be next week.
Boys and girls, another BenSettle.com podcast is in the can. We'll be back in your earbuds next week. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to the BenSettle.com podcast. To download yourself a free issue of Ben's prestigious $97 per month email players newsletter, which is going to show you 24 ways to write emails people eagerly read, click, and buy from, head on over to www.bensettle.com. Well, off you go. You know it makes sense.
This is the podcastfactory.com.